Level 97, a royal welcome. Alizé is inclined to keep a close eye on the queen. Well, having established that we should be wary, we could use more information. Let's head to this place, the outskirts, and see what we can learn, perhaps about Sphene as well. You know what we need? Lightning. Especially of similar farming facilities in Tyrol. They're completely different from ours. I've got no idea what all those machines do. We settled on this approach after some trial and error. The Tyrali have their own methods of farming, which they wanted to continue employing. The environment makes it challenging. There's too much rain and not enough light. Thankfully, the use of electro has allowed us to fortify the buildings here, as well as provide what nature cannot. Electro what? Electrobay. It's a material we use for myriad devices and applications. Topic for another time, perhaps. If you would follow me, we're nearly to the outskirts.
Here we are. Though you'll doubtless find much of what you see in Alexandria strange, the traditional agriculture practiced in this village at least should be familiar.
Queen Sphene? What business brings her here, I wonder?
The queen has come!
You look well, Paquine. And Catogne, I see you've already taken to your new position.
When she introduced herself as queen, I was expecting someone colder. Honestly, she reminds me of you, Lamachi.
Me?
It's only natural for a ruler to love her people. And I should like to know them as best I can, even the most trifling details.
The more you come to know them, the more you grow to love them. Who they are and what they've built.
That's it. Beautifully put.
And it would appear that she is well loved in turn.
Your Majesty, you honor us with your presence. And who are these fine people?
Tuliolo's vow of resolve would Clamart and her companions. They come from beyond the barrier, but you needn't worry. They are good people and are to be treated as my honored guests.
The rumors of a link to the outside are true, then. Rook Lamont is still so young. Where are my manners? I am Papone, a leader of sorts of the people living out here.
Papone? That is a Tonawautan ring to it.
Right you are. I take it you hail from this region as well? Teshpiani, perhaps?
Yes, I do. I don't suppose you know a woman by the name of Kafkiwa?
Akiwa finally learned how to pronounce it.
Kiwa. I'm afraid I'm not sure if I've ever met someone with that name.
Oh. Mother isn't here. But it's a relief to know at least some of the people of Yasulani are alive and well.
Your mother, you say? Now that you mention it, I do see the resemblance.
You know my mother?
I do. Yes.
Then tell me, please, where is she?
I cannot say. Not here, but I promise I will in due time.
I have a question, Pepone. Do you recall what happened the day the dome first appeared?
The barrier? Well, I remember fixing a shelf that had collapsed after a terrible earthquake. Then the ground began to tremble. There was a brilliant flash of light, and then... Forgive me, my recollection of it all is rather poor.
Don't leave us in suspense. Did you fix the shelf?
You needn't push yourself, Papone. After 30 years,
30
no one
years.
can blame you for not remembering.
30 years? As in 30 years in the past?
You better not stick around here too long.
Absurd though it may sound, there is no doubt in my mind the events that led to the joining of our lands occurred 30 years ago. Which is not to say I understand why our perceptions of the intervening time are so radically different. We only just became aware of the discrepancy when Zoraljar's military base was completed, and we were at last able to venture beyond the barrier.
I believed you long dead. To have the chance to kill you myself is an unforeseen blessing.
30 years. Little wonder Zoralja assumed our father had already passed away.
It's not unlike how time passes differently in the First and the Source. The fluctuating space of the rift between them disrupting temporal equivalence. Perhaps the same holds true here, and time flowed faster within the dome.
Meaning this is a piece of another reflection. Suppose time is still passing faster in here. That's a good.
I was able to make contact with Yestola not long ago via Link Pearl, so that shouldn't be cause for concern. And based on the Queen's account, this encampment may have come to serve as a physical bridge between the two planes, after which the dome was forced into the Source's temporal flow.
If we're to be certain of anything, we need more information. Fiend, would it be all right if we had a look around and spoke with the townspeople?
By all means.
Time to see what we can see of Alexandria, then.
And its people. I may yet find familiar faces among the survivors from Yasolani.
Even if I don't understand the half of it, I would learn more of this place before we confront Zorolja.
Perhaps you'd care to see how we make our living. Though we have always prided ourselves on the use of traditional Tonawatan farming methods, the use of electro-fueled technologies has led to countless agricultural innovations.
I would join you as well.
Ma'am, please, you needn't trouble yourself.
It's no trouble at all. And I promise not to cause any manner of distraction.
Reassuring words, or they would be had I not heard them countless times before. Very well, but do be careful.
Of course. I shall proceed with the utmost care. Now then, if you two would follow me, we can begin the tour.
Hey, tour. Oh.
I can't say that I trust her yet, but I trust that her affection for these people is genuine. And that's enough for me.
Electrop has done much to improve the efficiency of their farming, but hasn't replaced everything. People wanted to preserve their old way of life, and we did not want to force ours upon them. You went to such lengths so that our cultures could coexist, even going so far as to learn our tongue. I'm sure everyone appreciated that. Communication was thankfully not an issue, for the Turali tongue is surprisingly similar to Alexandrian. Of course, there are words and phrases for which there is no equivalent, but those can be taught with minimal effort. With mutual respect, understanding, and patience, we Alexandrians and Turali have learned a great deal from one another. I am sure there is much you wish to learn as well, so please, if you have questions, do not hesitate to ask. Level 97, a royal welcome, complete. Level 97, a day in the life. Sveen is eager to show you around. Rather than bore you with lengthy explanations, let us head back to the farm we passed earlier. UPA's Halo, it is called. We can speak with one of the farmers when we arrive. Guess we're off to UPA's Halo. Also purple. Allow me to introduce you to Malyusa, one of the most experienced farm hands in all of Alexandria. He's well versed in myriad farming techniques. Indeed, the wealth of knowledge he has shared with the other farmers is what has allowed this place to flourish. Queen's Fiend, to what do I owe this sudden shower of praise? My apologies for the interruption. I am come with guests from beyond the barrier. Wish to learn more of Alexandria, and so I invited them to see how our crops are grown. I do hope that's all right. So the rumors of visitors from the outside were true. What manner of hosts would we be to deny them a look around? And I gather your majesty also intended to check on things here? You know me too well, Manusa. I thought I should seize this opportunity to see how the farmers fare and perhaps pepper them with a few questions, though I do so enjoy observing and taking part in the work, too. It would appear we have permission, so please walk the grounds to your heart's content. You go on ahead, I'll keep Sveen company. Don't misunderstand, I'm not just a suspicious type, but given our positions, it would make sense for us to go around together, wouldn't you say? A fair point, but be sure not to let me out of your sight. I shall remain under Wuklamat's watchful eye. Pray, come find us after you've seen your fill and spoken with the other farmhands. A lot closer on the map. They're saying that you and yours are visitors from beyond the barrier. That true? So it is, which means we're connected to the outside world again. Not that I have a desire to leave, mind you. I'm quite content with life here in Alexandria. Setting that aside, you're here to observe our work, right? As you can see, I'm in charge of livestock. Here at UVA's Halo, we produce not only fruits and vegetables, but also meat, poultry, and eggs. Tending the animals is an absolute joy, but I have to be careful not to grow attached. It's always a little sad when they're shipped off, but a job is a job. I need to get back to it, but it was nice talking to you. Please give my regards to the Queen. Oh, an unfamiliar face. I gather this is your first time on site, then? Well, this here's the storehouse, or rather the entrance. The real storehouse is underground, much more spacious and equipped with a temperature regulation system to keep the harvest from spoiling. The entrance is so small, it's much easier to prevent wild beasts from wandering inside, which also makes it a viable facility for breeding and raising livestock. We've even got a few beds down there for emergencies. Parents often complain about how Alexandrian technology and electrope complicate our lives, but it's just a matter of learning how things work. Take my job, for instance. I'm presently overseeing the storage of harvested crops. They'll be taken up to the tower for processing, and from there find their way to every dining table in Alexandria. The work is hard, I'll not deny, but I take great satisfaction in what we do. Light levels appear to be fine. As for the power source... you wish to know about my job? I tend to the fields, mostly, watering the crops, keeping the soil fertile, and so on. Admittedly, it took some time until I fully understood how best to carry out my duties. Also manage the lamps we use in the fields. We do our best to keep everything up to code, but should they ever start to malfunction, it's up to me to fix them. The land and sky being what they are, ensuring a rich harvest makes for constant work, but honestly, I enjoy how involved the process is. With my parents being Alexandrian, I didn't grow up knowing much of anything about farming. Every day is an opportunity to learn and grow. See, don't be too hard on yourself. Anyone would have been hard-pressed to deal with such a thing. Oh, welcome back. My apologies for failing to notice your return. Together you've had your fill of speaking with the farmers, then let us return to Mausa. Well, what are your impressions of the farm? Everything was surprisingly normal. I was amazed that everyone loves their work. Electrope is quite impressive. Curious observation. Do you not love your own work? Oh, but I jest. It's true that the people of the outskirts seem the most fulfilled. Always they take to their duties with good cheer. What did you think of our little tour, Lamachi? What did you call me? Was that inappropriate? My apologies. I heard the others call you that by that name, and I thought... No, it's fine. As you said before, we've no need for titles or formalities. As for my thoughts, I was very impressed. The machines could be used to overcome so harsh an environment is amazing. I've never seen anything like it. Feeling is understandable. Indeed, many still find the machinery behind me baffling. The system that controls the distribution of water for the fields and livestock. It's been acting up lately, though. Acting up, you say? You needn't worry, my queen. It happens fairly often. Put simply, it's taken in water that had strong lightning charge. We think some creatures have become charged up with energy and they're releasing it into the river we use as a source. The system would return to normal if the creatures were dealt with, but I'm reluctant to beg it of the army. We could take care of it if you like. It is most gracious of you to offer, but it is much too dangerous. No trouble for the vow of resolve of Tuliolol. Regardless of how the relationship between our nations may develop, if there are people in need, I want to help. Simple as that. Lily is even stronger than I am. It shouldn't take us long at all. Very well, I gratefully accept. Please take care. This ought to go even faster if you and I search for lightning-charged fiends on our own. Good hunting. Under the bridge. Mountain Zoo. Oh, you're both all right. Thank goodness. You really needn't have worried so much. We barely broke a sweat dealing with the fiends. They're all gone now. Of course I was worried. You're my dear guest. Thank you. We truly appreciate this. Indeed, with this, we won't have to ask Zoro Jaw's machines for help. He's been making a concerted effort to bolster his forces, sparing but a fraction for the people's protection. He thinks nothing of our safety, unlike Queen's Fiend. That's enough, Mosa. If you have grievances, I will hear them later, but to speak of the king now. No, she's right. He's never been one to look after his people. Anyway, thanks for letting us tour the farm. The folk here are delightful, and it was a pleasure to meet them. You couldn't have favored us with more uplifting words. My people are my pride and joy. You never failed to let us know, nor how much you care. Of course, you're my precious family, all of you. You seem a good sort, Sveen, then that I'll admit. But you'll forgive me if I'm not ready to lower my guard for the enemy queen just yet. Ah, for you to be called that, I dread to imagine what villainy your majesty has committed. Come now, this is no laughing matter. Ruler is responsible for the welfare of countless lives, and one wrong decision can lead to untold suffering. Failure is unconscionable. Now, I believe we are done with the farm. Let's move on, shall we? Level 97, a day in the life, complete. Level 97, on the cloud. Scene would take you back to the outskirts. Perhaps we should head back to the outskirts? I dare say your friends will also have returned by now. Thanks again for dealing with the fiends. Come and visit us anytime. Do you hear that?
What's happening over there?
It's nearly time.
I'm glad you could make it.
Are you with us?
Queen Sphene has come to see you.
We're here, Namika. Everything is going to be all right.
Been there for 30 years, too. It'd be like old by that point.
Oh,
What's the matter, dear?
It can't be. That's the bangle I gave to Namika.
You know her.
Of course I know her. She was like a mother to me.
I see. She was always willing to lend a kindly ear to others, but rarely did she ever speak of herself.
Is it really you?
She must have arrived shortly before the barrier manifested. For us, it was perhaps days, but for her...
Namika, it's me! Wuklamat!
I'm afraid her time with us is nearly at an end.
Has she no more soul cells?
She always used hers sparingly, but at her age, it wouldn't make a difference.
Ma'am, the ushers have arrived.
Thank you, Namika, for your many years of friendship. Take comfort in the knowledge that this is not the end. Be not afraid. Your memory will live on, in us.
Living on in memory. The Giants share a similar belief.
Wait! Where are you taking her?
Worry not. She is being escorted to a medical facility in the tower. There we will ease her burden. I had hoped to make arrangements for her sooner, but she wished to remain here for as long as possible. I could not bring myself to refuse her.
Is there any way I might stay with her for a little while longer? We may not share the same blood, but she was my mother. Please.
Let us give them some time alone.
She didn't speak, but I'm grateful that I could be with her at the end. Thank you.
It's not the end.
Hmm?
Oh, nothing. I was just thinking that we have much to discuss. Where shall we begin?
With what we can be reasonably certain of, perhaps. Between what we have witnessed and the testimony of Alexandria's inhabitants, it's safe to say that two distinct lands have indeed become one. What's more, having met Namika, there is no denying the divergence in the passage of time. Taken together, these phenomena strongly suggest that some manner of cross-rift displacement has occurred. Specifically, the displacement of Alexandria from another reflection to the source.
It does seem the most likely explanation.
What perplexes me, however, is the scale of said displacement. It far exceeds what could conceivably be achieved with a Void Gate, or even with the Crystal Tower. In essence, we are dealing with a localized instance of dimensional compression. The Ascians would no doubt liken it to a rejoining, Which invites the question, how was such a feat accomplished?
I wish that I had an answer for you, but this talk of reflections and dimensions is well beyond my understanding. I can only tell you that we lived peacefully under the barrier's protection for many, many years, until the day that peace was suddenly broken.
If I may clarify, the barrier predates Alexandria's displacement.
By several hundred years, yes. To when the continent we call home was ravaged by a devastating cataclysm. The barrier was erected to isolate us from the surrounding land's noxious influence.
I see. And it was only later that it was whisked away, along with its contents, by means unknown.
In other words, Sphene's as lost as the rest of us, right? The Alexandrians didn't mean to end up in Tural.
But of course, our next stop ought to be Everkeep. That tower over yonder. Once you have been registered as my guests, you will have access to Solution 9 and its residential district, where you will doubtless gain invaluable insight into Alexandria's state of affairs. Unfortunately, I cannot take you directly to where Zoralja resides.
That you'd let us in it all goes a long way toward proving you're not content to let Zoralja do as he pleases. But we're not talking about a simple difference of opinion here. I've come to avenge my father, and to do so, I intend to take Zoralja's life. Are you willing to stand by and allow Alexandria's king to be slain?
A fair question. Permit me to answer it thus. My people come first. Their welfare is paramount. I will do everything in my power to keep them from harm. It is a ruler's duty. Now, I am off to register you at Everkeep. It may take some time, but you shall find the entrance open to you in due course. Oh, and ere I forget, your mother, Kafkiwa, you might try the Thunder Yards to the east.
The Thunder Yards? Is that where she is?
I am afraid I can say no more than that. Make for the Thunder Yards, and all will be made clear.
It's not as if we have other pressing business. Not until we can get into this Everkeep, anyway. Thank you for earlier. And for being a friend to Namika these past 30 years. It means a lot to me.
Namika? I'm sorry, but I don't know who you mean.
What? We were just with her. If this is some sort of a joke, it isn't funny.
Did some kind of update to him.
I don't mean to give offense, but I honestly have no idea who you are talking about. I'm sorry.
Weird things on their head.
How can you not know who she is? You're in charge here. She was under your care.
Then in all likelihood, my memories of her have been stored in the cloud. Any person seemingly forgotten without reason is probably there, in the cloud. Oh, I really must be getting back to work. If you'll excuse me.
Notice the queen didn't have one of those head thingamabobs. You're gonna turn out to be an AI. What's going on? How could Papuane suddenly forget about Namika? As if he never knew her. The same thing have happened to others as well, I wonder? Only one way to find out. Let's make inquiries about Namika in the area. We can reconvene afterwards at the Aetheryte. An old woman named Namika. I'm afraid I don't know that person. I'm sorry I couldn't be of help. I'm in the wall. What's that? Do I know Namika? Never met anyone by that name, and I've worked at the outskirts for a good while now. If she'd spent time here, I would remember. I do recall caring for someone until recently, and you say that it was a woman named Namika? I can't say for certain if it was her. I wouldn't worry. I'm sure she's just been taken up to the cloud. So it was the same for everyone. If a single person remembers Namika, it's as if the memory of her has been purged from their minds. Such a thing might be done with magic. To alter the memories of so many at once would be a tremendous undertaking. We would have felt a surge of ether corresponding to the act, too, and I sensed none in that moment. Neither did I, but I did notice something else. Right before Papuane seemingly forgot, a light in the device on his head began to blink. Could there be a connection? Someone also said something about soul cells. But who might we ask about this? If we continued making such inquiries, I expect we would only cause confusion. Indeed, we can't readily solve the mystery about Namika. Perhaps we could search for Kalquia instead. Fiend said to try the Thunder Yards. Should be in this direction. Possible. Other kind of mechanical soldier? It looks dangerous. We'd better destroy it. Whoa. Do we give chase? I think it understood our words. It might be worth asking it some questions. Aaronville, are you all right? You look like you've seen a ghost. It's nothing. I'm fine. Well, it went off in the direction we're headed anyway, so let's try to track it down. You found it. To the northeast, and it must be bound for the mines. Come on, then. Could well be a trap, so let's not rush in too quickly. Heard faint voices coming from inside. So it's not alone, but we're still going in, of course. Maybe a trap. Be ready for a fight, everyone. I can hear them. Several people up ahead. I can't make out their conversation with the echoing. Keep going. Stay on your guard.
What is this?
Aaronville!
A trap?
It really is you!
Huh?
Who?
I just have to
My darling, what now?
Oh, it's so good to see you, my fussy little bun bun. But what are you doing here? What brings you all this way?
Fussy little bun bun. You all right?
Why the long face? Aren't you happy to see me after all this time?
Communicating through it, or is she like her soul been uploaded into it?
Wait. Since when was your mother a weird floating thing?
And what have we here? Say, aren't you Galoo Jaja's kitten? I knew I recognized that adorable fuzzy face. Ellenesphere was always so excited whenever you invited him over to play. You remember me, I hope?
I can't say that I do, but you know my father?
Appearances notwithstanding, it would seem this is my mother, Kafkiwa.
I'm sorry?
Oh, but this won't do. Come in. Come in! Friends of my Ellenesphere are always welcome.
All I ask is a little forewarning, but no.
Just when I thought I was starting to get a handle on this place, how are things still getting stranger?
As far as I can tell, this is indeed my mother. I can think of few people in the world quite so spirited. As to what's happened, we'll need to ask her. 497 on the cloud. Complete.